I didn't have that network to start calling on immediately. And I happened to talk to my television agent, my former television agent at the time. And he said, I don't know why you're not doing videos about Boise.
Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. On today's episode, we are joined by Boise-based Kerri O'Hara. Before getting into real estate, Kerri was a highly successful television news anchor. More than a dozen years ago, she was actually one of the first journalists I worked with as a brand new video journalist in South Carolina. Using her knack of storytelling and comfort behind the camera, Kerri has used the power of video to become one of the top relocation experts in her market. Now, before getting into the day's featured interview, make sure you follow and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms from Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the list goes on. Also, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notifications when each new episode is uploaded. And lastly, if you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, let's get on to the day's featured interview with Kerri O'Hara, where she talks all about transitioning into real estate and shares tips for creating video content. Usually the way I like to start everything out is if you can just kind of tell me a little bit about your background. I know we have a little bit of we used to work together in the news industry, which is very different from what we're both doing now, but you are now in real estate. So tell me a little bit about getting into that.
Yeah. So background, I worked in television as a news reporter, as a news anchor, as a sports anchor and sports reporter. And that was really the only plan I had for life. Since I was 8 years old, I wanted to be in the news industry. And so there was never a plan B. And then my first child came along and I quickly realized that television was my first baby. And that now that I had a real one, I couldn't give 110% to television anymore. And so I left. I didn't know what I was going to do. We live in Boise, Idaho. And at the time, Boise was still pretty small. And so there really wasn't an industry for me to work in. I didn't want to go back to television in Boise. And I didn't want to have a desk job. So sitting PR, HR was never going to work for me. And so I said, why not? Let's give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I finished my last show on Friday night at 11 o'clock and started Monday morning with real estate school. And during that time, there were a lot of people getting into real estate because they thought it was easy and you're going to make a lot of money. So I was very disenchanted at first. I thought these people were all get rich quick schemers. And I had worked in an industry where not anybody off the street can do it. And so you work with a bunch of very successful professionals who have given up a lot to get where they are in the television industry. And so that was hard at first. And I didn't know anybody in Boise. My husband's from here, but I'm not. And so I didn't have that network to start calling on immediately. And I happened to talk to my television agent, my former television agent at the time. And he said, I don't know why you're not doing videos about Boise. So many people are moving there. It's the up and coming city. And so I started doing videos in my car, just like this, my studio, and put them on YouTube. And within a couple of months, all of a sudden the phone started ringing. And it was the strangest thing, especially when I limit my kids' YouTube, to think that spawned my real estate career here. And so, yeah, that was the beginning of it.
Well, and like you said, it wasn't like you were in we're all used to like these big studios and cameras and all this stuff in the television industry, but you were able to just do it on your phone, post it on YouTube, and there it went. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I think being in television, you have a little bit of insight as to you need good lighting. And also working in television, you know that you can't just babble on for hours because the attention span is very short. And so also using that background, I was very used to talking on camera and not uncomfortable, because I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. You put a video up there and you can clearly see that someone is uncomfortable, then they don't look like an expert. And it's the same thing that you learn in television. You have to practice. If it's a strange pronunciation, you've got to do it over and over and over until it just rolls off your tongue. And so that background really helped do these videos. And it's amazing to think that a lot of agents, when they get into the industry, are going to pay for leads or, join a team where they can start making, getting clients and making money that way. And this was just on my own, without any marketing. It just marketed itself.
Right. And coming from your background in television, when you're thinking about a story, you're thinking of all the different aspects of it. So like when you're thinking about moving somewhere, you can sit down there and write every little question, what about the schools? What about the, A, B, and C? Then you have a whole list of videos right there that you can do.
Yeah. And that's perfect because a lot of people, Boise makes all the top 10 lists of best places to live, retire, raise family, whatever it is. And so I hear the same questions over and over again. And so a lot of the videos I've done just answer the question, what's the weather like in Boise? People think that Boise is a really cold climate. We get snow, and then we have mountains, but Boise is a pretty temperate climate, really, when it comes down to it, which is why it's attractive to a lot of people. And so I just take that approach. What did I want to know when I moved around in television? What did I want to know when I got to a new place? And so I just do those videos and put them out there. And that's why, people have reached out to me, because they see it as an educational source and someone that can help them figure out where they belong.
Right. And so I'd imagine this has really kind of lended you to be like that relocation person. People moving in are coming to you because you are that community expert now.
Yeah. And I love that because I walk the walk and talk the talk. I did this myself. I know what it feels like. And, when you work with a lot of clients from all over the place, I love that I get to meet all these different people that are moving in here. In Boise now, there's a bit of frustration because it's grown so fast and our real estate prices have gone up so much, but I can also talk to who these people are and why they're moving here and, have an educated conversation with even locals. My husband is a native and born and raised, and his family and everything else. And there's a lot of good and bad that comes with people moving in and change. But I kind of see myself more as the liaison between someone that's new moving into town versus just selling them a house. I mean, they need everything. And so to be that expert for someone has been really rewarding, not just a sale, but being able to know that you're the go-to person for them.
Right. And now that you've been doing it for several years, how's that led to, from some of those people that you first worked with to where your relationship is with them now? Have you gotten those repeat sales with those?
Yeah. I when I first got into real estate, I had gone to a certain, I guess it was like a camp or a seminar, and that particular coach turned me off so badly. I paid an exorbitant amount of money to be there for a few days, and I left after maybe half a day. And it was all about the churn and burn of so many cold calls, so many door knocks, so many this, so many that, and just getting the transaction done. And I've never taken that approach with anything in life. And so I actually more subscribe to, I'm sure people that are listening do, but the Brian Buffini methodology of it. And so you're exactly that, the expert from selling, but then the expert on everything, and cultivating those people and having them always being in the line of service to help them with whatever they need during the time they're here. And most people that move here, it's then their mom comes, then their brother comes, then their grandmother comes, and their friends and whatever else. And so by staying in touch and doing pop-bys and notes and just things that are important to people and keeping them well informed on the market and their house and the pricing, and then just, doing a newsletter or doing emails, just this is coming up, or these events, or just keeping in touch has also grown my business exponentially, because you're better off having someone that and their friends and family versus someone that calls you off the street.
Right. Well, and I think, a lot of times in the news industry, you do these stories and, you're not able to make that personal relationship with a lot of people. But in this industry, you are able to forge such a great personal relationship with each and every one of your clients. That is, I think it's one of the more fulfilling parts, of the industry itself.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, like I said, when I always say your vibe attracts your tribe. And so by putting those videos out there, the people who are calling me, they'll say right away, it already feels like we're friends because they've been watching so many videos. And then as we spend, basically the person who's getting in my car typically doesn't know, one part of Boise to an outside city or town. They don't know anything. They don't know what they're looking for. They don't know pricing, taxes, school districts, why people live in certain areas, why they don't. And so, you get to really know who they are, and taking that connection of their why, what is their why? Why are they coming here? What are the most important things? And then reiterating that back to them over and over again, because it can be completely overwhelming. Think about that. Anytime you've moved, as well, you move to a city, you don't know where to live, and you don't know why that area costs more than this area, or why a brand new construction house in this neighborhood is more than the one across the street. You can't know that. And so you get to know these people very intimately. And it's really nice to have those relationships as time goes on and see their change too. A lot of people that are moving here have been in a place where they've seen it change for the worse, and they don't want that to happen to their new city. So they become very involved, and they're just immerse themselves in the community, in the city right away. And to see the change of someone who's kind of lived in an area where they're guarded, to move to a place where, everybody says hi and it's friendly and it feels like people are looking out for you. It's really cool to see that transformation from people too.
Right. And then, on the other side of that, when you're doing these videos about the restaurants downtown, or the mom and pop places, or the hairdresser, or the doctors, what's that relationship been like working with those local businesses?
Yeah, I love that part too. Because like I said, if you want to become an expert at something, you need to know it. Right. And so when there is a new business in town or a new restaurant, it's fun to go and get to know the people, get to know the owners, get to know the wait staff, and try out their new and the latest and greatest of everything. So I love that part. And then it's also, it's cool to, I think that I'm a big connector. And so whether that's connecting a local business to another local business, or a client who's an investor who moves to town and, maybe they're retired from their last field, but they want to do something within the industry, to be, hey, you should connect people that way. And Boise is just small enough that for me, I am in my car all day long, going from one appointment to the next, and the valley is pretty big. And so I'll go to, a bar top and sit and chat with the bartender and, get my work done at the same time and have lunch and whatever else. And so you get to know those people, and really, for me, it's important to be part of a community. And I found that real estate has actually done so much more for me than I ever thought. And to be able to connect me with the people in the community and know that you're playing an integral part for a business owner, for someone moving to town. And it's just a nice feeling. My husband is born and raised here. And so it's always funny when we go out and he doesn't know the people and doesn't know, the new neighborhood or how to get the back roads of something. And so, someone who I just took it away from him, like, get out of the drive. Yeah. I'll figure this out,
Right. Right. And switching gears a little bit, because you do have such a background in video, and it's very natural for you to get in front of a camera now, because video is such a big platform and a big thing that people need to really embrace, but it can be really overwhelming for a lot of people. What are some of your tips for getting over that and getting past that?
You just got to keep doing it. You've got to keep doing it. I mean, and I know that in television, you start at the lowest market and you go market to market and you get better and better as you go. And so you're looking at whatever market you're in. Say you're living in New York City. You're watching market one. You're watching the best television talent, news anchors, reporters that there are in the game. And so it's really easy to be intimidated by that and to say, yeah, I can't do this. I'm not that good. Well, those people have been doing it their entire life. By the time you're our age, you've been in the industry for 20 years. And so it's easy to be intimidated by that. But I tell people, if you want to go and pull up my very first resume tape, which is a VHS, by the way, so I'm not sure if we could find a way to play that, but it's bad. It's really bad. Yeah,
they're embarrassingly bad.
My gosh, it makes you hurt when you see some of the things that you said and mistakes and whatever else. But time after time after time, you just keep doing it. And so if that means you do it in your car to yourself for a month until you feel like it's okay, go for it. And then also know, if you're watching, they always say the best news anchor is someone you want to have a beer with. It's not that they're perfect. It's that they're relatable. And so you don't have to worry about saying, or, going back on what you said or whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're human. And so just put it out there. And as the more and more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. I think you also should, if you're going to do a video series, start thinking about what topic you're going to talk about and then brainstorm it in your head. What are the points you've got to make? Be concise, because even if you look at my videos, if you look at the analytics, which ones go all the way to the end or which ones do the analytics drop off? If the video is too long, it starts dropping off. People have no attention for that. They have no attention span, or they have no interest level after a bit. They're like, okay, that was good enough. Next video. So be concise. If you want to talk about, one area of the real estate market, then hone it into one city. Here are the numbers. Here's what you need to know. Get in and get out. In television, most of our scripts are 30 seconds long. So, and when you tell a full story, even if you're talking about like a political story that might have both sides of an argument, or you need to interview several people, your whole story is a minute and a half long. Right. So you've got to think that, you got to keep that in mind, that people don't have time for it. So practice and make sure that your video is very concise, I think is your best bet. And it's probably easier to be very concise when you're starting in television or starting in a video platform. Right.
And I like what you said about, it doesn't have to be perfect. And the way that, the YouTube videos and the social media videos, they're made to not be perfect. They're made, and that's what the platform is. It's made to be a social interaction. Mm-hmm. And by having that real perfect cookie cutter look, you're not allowing for that personal interaction to happen.
Yeah. And what's funny is that I have produced videos where I had a videographer and an editor doing them. And then I have my ones in the car, and the ones in the car actually tend to do more than the produced ones, because I think it's just the same thing. It's okay, well, she must be a professional. And when I started in the relocation side of the real estate business, it was actually kind of funny because people would call me and they're like, hey, do you know a good realtor? I'm like, well, definitely I'm not doing my job. I'm selling the town, but I'm not selling myself. And so it's an interesting platform, but definitely people want real, authentic, it is what it is. If you're talking to a friend, you're going to have ums and buts and different idiosyncrasies of your talk path. So that does not matter at all. And I think the more genuine you are is how the videos actually work.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up for our listeners. Thank you so much for joining me.
For sure.
I really want to thank Kerri for taking the time to join us. And I think it's awesome that she has made such a successful transition into real estate. I've also linked Kerri's YouTube page in the episode description as well, so you can check out some of the videos that she has produced. So once again, if you think you or somebody else on your team has a story or tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.